Welcome to another episode of It's a Long Beach Thing. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and like us on It's a Long Beach Thing on Facebook. We have a great group on Facebook. You can talk about anything, business, pleasure, whatever, as long as it's about Long Beach. So go over there to Facebook, It's a Long Beach Thing, and check it out. I'm very excited about my show today because I have a friend that I've known, gosh, man, I think now for close to 15 years now, through various channels, through personal and through business. Paige Charnick, how are you today, Paige?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we go way back. We go back. We played
So fun.
kickball at Marina Vista Park in the, I would say probably 2010, 2011, around that time.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of stayed friends because it's funny is because we stayed friends because we're so connected. I know we're both from the area, so I get that, and we're around the same age, so I get that. But we're so connected in our personal lives and in our business lives. So it's like everywhere I went, well, then everybody knew Paige, and especially
And same.
you went to USC, and I didn't go to USC, but I have a good friend that went to USC, and you hung out with her back in the day.
Yes, yes. We know a lot of the same people, and it's so funny that actually we didn't know each other sooner. Because yeah, we started unraveling that we know a lot of the same people. I would say kickball was like the heyday. Those were like the right years, I think, that you hit of like the kickball heyday at Marina Vista Park, which is kind of under construction right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like all of our kickball connections, and then that like translated into business too. When I would run into you at real estate conferences, I was like, our worlds are colliding.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get in, shall we?
Yes, let's dive in.
Okay, so what's your first association with Long Beach? Easy for me to say.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I grew up here. So my first associations would be as a kid. Like I am Long Beach born and raised, truly. Um, and went to school here. So like if I were diving back into like old photos or really thinking back, it would probably be like photos of kindergarten, or like at Whaley Park. Like actually this is a good throwback. This is probably my first association in like knowing that I'm like in Long Beach is my parents would take me to Whaley Park. We would pick up like I don't know, either El Pollo Loco or there used to be a KFC right by Whaley Park. It's gone now,
It's like a
but
Mexi, what's it, Mexi Casa now? What is it?
you can still kind of tell that it was right, like the
Yeah.
structure. But it was like right next door, and there's a church right next door. And I went to like all the like toddler, play things there, and so yeah, like Whaley Park, just playing and growing up there, and did like ASO soccer. I did one season. It was not for me.
You used that for your kickball when you became an adult, right? You used that
Right,
skill.
right. Yeah. Yes.
And so you grew up in the Park Estates area, and it's kind of full circle because I believe you live there now. So it's kind of cool you do a full circle, and not a bad place to live. Everybody knows Park Estates, beautiful, beautiful. You know what I love about Park Estates? One is it feels like suburbia, family suburbia. One, but two is you go to other areas and there's a lot of like like two-story houses, and I know there's a lot of two-story houses in Park Estates, but there's a lot of like wide ranch style homes, one-story wide ranch style homes that I just love.
I love it too. Yes, we did just move back last summer, like last September. So it's a few months old. And yeah, so I grew up here. I live here now. My office is here. I'm definitely partial to Park Estates. And I know you're close by.
Yeah.
And the homes are set further back. I mean, I can give you the real estate perspective on all that, but just the personal perspective is that like growing up here, like there's no fencing, like all the lawns are open, and it makes a difference in a neighborhood for it to just have that feel of open greenery. People always attribute it to the lots being bigger, but it's really, I mean, that is a nice factor, but it's really that like there's not a lot of fencing. And so it's just open. So open greenery, which like I'm literally sitting in my office right now. I'm like looking out on the park as well. And that's one of the things too about Long Beach that I feel like is underrated. Like El Dorado Park, like there's so much open greenery that I feel like is part of what makes Long Beach, but people don't really, like you think of a park, you think of like Central Park and different things like that. But it's really a large piece of the city too, not just this neighborhood, it's the whole city too. So anyhow, I love that factor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we're going to probably dive into a lot of the real estate portion of it, but first I want to get into your journey a little bit because
Yes,
if I believe correctly, you left the city a little bit to go to high school because I believe you went to Los Alamitos, correct?
I did. So I probably should have gone to Wilson. I would have gone to Poly Pace. That would have in fact, I think on day one, I was enrolled. Like I had some friends from other community stuff I was involved in that they were like, your name was called on roll call. Like, why aren't you here? And which like that's a very old memory that just came out of nowhere. But yeah, I did. So I went to Minigant Elementary. And then I transferred over. I still lived in Long Beach, but I transferred over to Los Al schools. I went to McAuliffe Middle School and then to Los Al High, Los Alamitos.
What made you choose Los Alamitos?
I think my mom liked the commute better. Like I
Ah,
could go to like Bonjour Bagel and Catella Deli and all the. I think that's
oh,
honestly
so
like
it wasn't your choice. I thought it was strategic for you, but it actually was your mom liking the commute, huh?
I think that, well, also my grandmother lived over in Rossmore. So I did go to her house after school periodic, like occasionally. So yeah, my dad's mom lived over there. And we just had like a center of things happening over there, different I did dance for like 10 years. I did ballet and jazz and a variety of different things. And like those studios were over there, friend groups were there. So it kind of was a natural thing, but I did definitely have friends at all schools. I think because I had like in my neighborhood growing up, I had like the everyone went everywhere. Like people went to St. Joseph's, St. Anthony's. I had friends at Wilson. I had friends at Poly. And I was involved in a lot of different community things. So I did have friends in high school at all schools, really. So yeah.
And if memory serves me correctly, you excelled quite a bit because I believe you were the valedictorian of your class. Was that correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if valedictorian was the official title. I think I was like the baccalaureate speaker. Yes, I did do a speech, and I don't know where you dug that up, but yes, I did. I don't think I was official valedictorian, but it was one of those speeches, and I definitely I got in trouble. I don't know if I've ever told you this
The
story.
Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams?
Yeah. Yes.
You
Did I
didn't
tell
tell
you?
me. You know what? You didn't tell me the story. Either your mom or dad told me that story.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
No, a long time ago.
Um,
And I
that's
remember it and I thought it was pretty cool. So I wanted to bring it
that's
up today.
hysterical. Yeah, so I was really into Carpe Diem and all of those things. And so I built my entire speech around the theme of Carpe Diem. And I was on ASB and yearbook and I did all the things. And I submitted one speech and then I like conspired with my English teachers,
Mhm.
like my current English teacher and then like my sophomore English teacher. I they all helped me.
Mhm.
And I changed the ending of the speech so that I had my entire class stand up on their chairs, which the powers that be at high school didn't want like 500 students like standing on chairs. They were not happy. And I could see at the back of the gymnasium, I could see the ASB director who you know, was part of selecting me as one of the speakers because I was like such a rule follower turned rule breaker. And so I could see his face turning red at the back of the room, and he was like booking it to the. But the speech was already like I had already like it was
Yeah.
done, so it was already over. But I did. I had everybody stand up on their chair, and just like in the movie, like it's like a yelp, and had everyone screaming, and it was yeah, that's quite a memory actually. But yes, it was very fun. I need to dig out. There's like VHS footage of that somewhere in my parents' house, and I need to go find that.
Yeah, you do. You do. And you have somebody that can edit all that for you, I know.
I I do. I do know someone who could edit. Yes.
So
Uh,
what happened? So that obviously the speech ended. What happened to you afterward?
so after high school in
No,
general,
no, no. Like
oh, for
I'm sure,
that,
yeah.
nothing because it was graduation. So
Oh,
like, I definitely got a stern talking to, but I mean nobody was stopping me from graduating or anything. But
yeah.
the ASB advisor was very upset. It's okay. I'm friends with him on Facebook now. So
As long as you're
I,
friends with her on Facebook, I guess it's all forgiven, right?
I don't think he held it against me, but
Yeah.
he definitely was surprised. Like no one expected me to like go against the rules at that juncture. Now I don't think anyone would be surprised if I
Yeah.
changed it up.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It was always in you all along, right?
Yeah, it just needed a that was the beginning.
That was the fire that started it.
Yeah, that was the beginning of it all. So
So I would imagine at that point, with the accolades you had in high school, there was a lot of suitors for you when it went to college. So tell me about that process, or was it just USC all along? I'm going there. That's the jam.
no, it actually wasn't. I applied to like 10 or 15 schools. I applied to a lot of schools all over the country. And I remember pretty vividly I applied to George Washington in DC. And I remember their acceptance package was like beautiful. It was like gold foil writing. It felt very presidential, actually. DC. But no, I was planning to go to Tulane in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I just like fell in love with the campus. They had some really cool programs. I thought I wanted to go to law school. Um, and they had like, it was like a different program because New Orleans has like, they had like an international law program. New Orleans laws are different. Anyway, I don't remember the specifics, but I was very interested in Tulane and I was planning to go there. And on the very last day, as I mentioned, I had a schedule filled of like the fluffier things at the end of high school. So I had like ASB and it was like ASB lunch and yearbook in the middle of the
Nice.
day. And so I had the important stuff at the beginning and the end. Like I had like my AP English class was last and AP European history was first and I don't know. Anyway, so I just remember that I had the middle of the day open to like do my homework and whatever. But I drove my acceptance up to USC on the very last day. Like I called my parents from school and I was like, I'm going to make a change and I'm going to leave school right now and go drive my acceptance up to USC. And I did on the very last day. So that was kind of like a whim decision that I made. I mean, it wasn't, I don't think, but I don't know, given the way things have played out, like Long Beach and SoCal are so central to who I am and part of my identity that I really can't imagine it have going. Why can't I speak right now? I can't imagine it going another way now, but yeah,
But
that's what I did.
what gave you that whim to want to drive your letter of acceptance to USC at that point? What was going through your head? Did you have family there? I know you have a lot of pride in USC now, but did you have that pride then?
You know, I no, I didn't. There were definitely were like USC fans in high school. Like La Salle had a lot of like USC backpacks and stuff. Like there was some vibe to that. I mean, the football team wasn't good. Like when I When I graduated college, like the headline on the Daily Trojan was like, hack it, can't hack it. Like it was not, we were not good. Like we got
Yeah.
good later, like right after I graduated. But La Salle had a big football culture.
Hmm.
They were CIF champions, and like that was definitely part of my high school experience of culture. So I think I was nervous about that not being a large part of things at Tulane. That's part of my life now. It was then. But I don't think that was it. I think I just knew that my journey would not end per se, but like a large majority of my life would be in Southern California. And I knew that USC had connections professionally. And so I was looking at it from a professional standpoint of like future opportunity. And then I was also looking at it from a lifestyle standpoint of like when I'm in a, like it's hard to think when you're like 18. It's hard to make, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like every high school student these days should take like a gap year. I don't
Yeah.
know, but because it's hard to like decide things for yourself at that age.
Sure.
But I think I just had a flash of like my life will be in Southern California, and why would I not want as many Southern California connections as possible? I don't know. I think that's what it was.
So when you got in USC, I know obviously you've been a real estate agent broker for a long, long time. But was that, I know that's what your dad did and does. But was that something that you were thinking about doing in college, or did you have other aspirations at that point?
No, I was trying everything possible to not do the family business.
Hmm.
I was trying not to go into real estate, which is hysterical to me now. But no, I think I thought I would go to law school. And so I was an international relations major in college, which is proving interesting in current times. And that I think was the path I thought I was on. And then ultimately, I had some health struggles during college. And I actually didn't end up, so I was class of 2001. I actually didn't end up finishing my degree until many years later.
Hmm.
Actually, I left my degree unfinished for a while. And I don't really not tell people that, but I also don't advertise it.
Yeah, I did not know that.
But it is definitely a part of how the trajectory of my career went. So my first jobs out of college were with an unfinished degree, which I was always honest with my employers about. But I had basically finished my coursework. But because I had like a semester in there where I'd had some health struggles, those classes were counting in my GPA and in my major GPA. And I needed them to not be, or I needed to raise my major GPA at that point.
Hmm.
So it took me a while to resolve that because that was sort of my first encounter of like life not going the way I anticipated it.
Hmm.
Um, and so I had to work through that. But professionally, my first job was as a paralegal, and it was for a civil litigation firm. And actually, one of the big cases that I worked on was against the city of Long Beach. There was a private party that was suing the city. She ended up winning like a 23 or $25 million verdict against the city of Long Beach. It
Wow.
was like roughly 2003. People can go look it up. It's McClure versus the city of Long Beach. And she was opening residential care facilities. It's actually ironic that this is the case that I worked on, given what I do now. I could not have possibly anticipated that work experience leading into my current professional life. But I worked on this case where this woman was opening 5 or 6 residential care facilities that were homes. And there was a whole movement at that time called, well, it still is, called NIMBY, not in my backyard. And the city, basically, they proved that the city was effectively citing her for things like fence height and things like that. And so she won the case.
Mm.
This lady, so I worked for the law firm that worked with this lady, Shirley McClure, and I'm like, feel free to cut half of this out. This is like turning
No,
into.
no, no. That's it's interesting stuff. I like it.
Thank you. But so I worked for this firm and this lady, Shirley McClure, and the properties were in law. I think that's part of like why they wanted me involved is that I knew the city. Like I knew the addresses, not that I had anything to do with it really. I was in charge of scanning, like I was in charge of documenting their database and coding all of the documents. And it was actually pretty tedious, but I learned a lot. And I learned their trial presentation software. So to bring it back, basically I worked on this case for about 2 years roughly. And I feel like I got paid to learn that I did not want to go to law school. Had I worked at a firm this was civil litigation. So it was a lot of it was very tedious for me, especially being a people person. There was not a lot of people interaction. And it was really interesting work, but like it was not how I wanted to spend every single day of my life. And so I feel like I got paid to learn that I did not want to go to law school, whereas all my friends kind of went straight out of school. So like I think that the whole degree problem that I had actually served me really well. And anyway, so that was the first like few years out of college. I also kept a side job just because I had it and I loved it and I didn't want to give it up. But I had a side job for Bath and Body Works. And so I would work a full day at work and then I would go to Bath and Body Works from like, I had the closing shift from like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., like a few nights a week. And I loved that job so much more. Just because I talked to people the whole time. Like it was a sales job, right? Yeah. And so I learned, I was like, oh my God, I love this so much more. And I learned so much from that store manager. Her name was Diane. I would love to track her down and find her. I like completely
What
lost
Bath and Body Works were you at? Where was
in
it
the
located?
West Side Pavilion Mall.
Okay.
I used to live on Overland, just next to the Mormon Temple. Do you know where I'm talking about? This was all up in LA.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So right out of college, I stayed in LA and lived on Overland. And the Mormon Temple was like my beacon home when I was driving. I could like see it as I was driving home.
Yeah.
And I recently drove past that area and looked for my old apartment there. And it was like a big hole in the ground. Like there was a fence around it. And somebody would like, obviously, like, you know, they sold it and were redeveloping it. But I caught it at the exact moment that there was a big hole in the ground where the building used to be. And I should go back actually and see what they built. But that was a trip. So.
Well, you know, the thing is, when you're talking about this, so you have this full-time job, which you're probably working at least 40 hours a week, if not longer. It sounds like you might have with that work you're doing. Yeah. Then you'd go to your second job a few times a week, Bath and Body Works. What was your social life at that time?
Oh, I still had one because when you're young, you can like do all the things, you know? So I was like, I can't even imagine my schedule now, but I did. I was like, every night I wasn't out working, then I was out having fun. So, and it was, you know, West LA in the early 2000s. I would say Q's was probably a large part of my Q's, Cabo Cantina, all of the bar scene was definitely part of my life, but I just weaved it into all the work. And when you're, you know, 23, 24, 25, you can still do that. And actually my kickball, to bring it back to Long Beach, my kickball career started in Venice around 2007, 2008. And I played in the Venice League, and then I helped start the Culver League. And then 2000, then I moved back to Long Beach, but
What year did you move back to Long Beach?
Roughly 2008.
Okay.
No, 2000, I don't know. I was roughly 28 or 29. Okay. So, and like 2007 is when the market shifted.
Yeah.
So I moved my license back, but I don't think I physically moved until 2008. So I moved my license to go work with my dad. So basically, to wrap that all up in a nice bow, I went from my paralegal job to an escrow job for about 3 years in Beverly Hills. And then in 2007, moved back to work with my dad.
So what made you go into escrow? So that at that point you're like, maybe I need to get back, maybe I need want to get into real estate?
So the paralegal job became crazy hours, and that case was going to trial. And I knew that if it went to trial and I was still there, that like the firm would own me
Hmm.
and I would not have a life anymore. So I left, and my dad was pushing me to get into real estate, and I was pushing back to say no. And I was like, let me go. Like, escrow seemed like a really good place to figure out if I was going to go into real estate, which piece of real estate I wanted to be a part of, which I feel like you could probably relate to with the mortgage broker side of things. Like, in escrow, you deal with the lender and the realtor and the client, and you deal with every single part of the transaction. So I thought, okay, well, I'll learn which piece of things I want to be a part of. And I really liked my time in escrow. I learned a lot. I was trained really, really well by a lady named Nettie Becker and her associate, Corey Schwab, who I think still does escrow in Beverly Hills. Not sure if she's retired or not. And so I learned from them. And I did escrow from '03 to '06, which was like a crazy market run up.
Hmm.
So I learned a lot. I mean, we did deals for people that are on reality TV now. So I learned a lot. And then it was time to come back to Long Beach.
What made you want to come back to Long Beach?
Partly just, I think at that point I'd had enough of the party scene of LA.
Hmm.
I wanted to be more settled. I wanted to build more in my career. I think I thought my parents were aging, but they were not aging at that time. But I think I thought they were. Um, and like I wanted to like have a dog and like do things that didn't feel like compatible with apartment life in LA. So
So where did you move? Where did you move when you moved back to Long Beach?
when I first came back, I lived in an apartment on Wilton near the traffic circle.
Oh, okay. So near,
Uh,
yeah, so near me, the opposite way.
yeah. And I was like behind some, like I was on top of some garages and I had a little patio area behind that. And being near the traffic circle is a great location in Long Beach because you can get to everything.
Yeah.
Like it was a great location. And then eventually I moved from that apartment behind the garages into the front house when I eventually got engaged. Then my husband, well, he was my fiance at that point, but we moved into the front house of that same property until we bought a house a couple years later in Bixby Knolls. And then we just moved back to Park Estates 10
So
years
when I
ago.
knew you, so when I first knew you, you were living in Wilton. You were living
I
in Wilton.
was.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So okay, so you moved back to Long Beach. You were you were in escrow. At that point, did you say, okay, all right, let's stop fighting this thing. I want to go. I want to get in with my dad.
I got licensed in '06.
Hmm.
And my dad wouldn't take me. He was like, you have to go get trained. I was like, okay. So
Wait. He wanted you in the business, and then he's like, oh well, you're not coming here.
no, he's like, you gotta go learn how to do it.
Okay.
Because my dad's always been independent and not corporate and all of
Yeah.
the things. So I went, so being an escrow was a great vantage point to figure out where to go. So I went and worked for a company called Boardwalk Realty. There is a boardwalk in Long Beach, but it was not that boardwalk.
Yeah.
I know that family that runs that. They're like REO specialists, but not them. There was a
Larry, right? Larry Boren.
no, Boardwalk in Long Beach is owned by the Potiers, Justin
Oh,
Potier
got it.
and
Okay.
his dad, Mike. And
Oh yeah, that's right. Justin. Yeah,
yeah,
Justin and Mike. Okay,
they
that's the son.
specialize. Well, it was cool because they were a father-son team and
Yeah.
we're a father-daughter team, and they did REOs and we did probate. It was like a whole nice, like synonymous, side by side kind of thing. Definitely like a long time friendly professional, relationship with them. But this boardwalk that I went to work for was a different boardwalk. It had four offices, like 100 agents, Marina Del Rey, Santa Monica. So it was up in LA, and I was there for about a year. I got trained. And then the market was shifting. So they were like selling that company. And then my dad was like, come back to Long Beach. So it all came together. So I basically jumped from escrow. I worked as an agent in LA for a year and then back to Long Beach. So yeah,
So then, how long were you at Boardwalk before you went to work with your dad?
just about a year.
Okay. So then it was like '09 is when you went to work with your dad?
Oh 07, I think I hung my license in oh 07, but I don't think I moved for another year, like oh 08.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
they started working with your dad.
Yeah.
And how was the dynamic, working with your dad? You said not corporate, and I know I know your dad. He's quite the character. So, how did that all come about?
So what we learned working together is that we are very, very similar.
Really?
Does not play out well for working
Uh-huh.
because we are the same and we both are like we want to get stuff done. So we were kind of like stepping on each other's toes. Um, so he definitely helped me like get a foothold and get started. He would bring me in as a co-agent on some deals that I, maybe didn't deserve to be on, but he would like bring me in on a few. But then he also definitely, after about a year of, I mean, the market was rough at that point too. So I think he was happy to have the help. Um, but after a little bit of time, he definitely shoved me off of a ledge and was like, okay, well, you have to go get new clients. He was like, these are my clients. And some of them were passing away as well. So some of his clients had been his longtime clients. And he was like, you've got to go get new clients. So I did. And that's really one of the best things he could have ever done for me, actually, is to not help me. And because that's how you build your business.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much.
That's interesting that you guys said that you are similar because you told me a story one time because when you work, you like a little bit more silence and quiet and this and that, and he's on the phone with the feet back, talking to people, sending an email while he's talking to somebody on something else, and it was like it's driving me crazy. It's too much chaos. I'm trying to work here.
I think yes, that is how I would tell it for a long number of years. I think with a little more self-reflection, I've learned that I am the same way.
Oh,
It's just, I don't want to be around his crazy loudness because I have my own crazy loudness.
oh, got it. Okay.
So I think I've learned that like I have my own sort of like insanity that comes with real estate life. But in terms of our sameness, we're both sort of like quick to get back to the client or quick to respond to things. And so when we were working side by side, it was like we were doing duplicated work. Like we
Yeah.
were both doing the same thing. But in terms of working style, yes. Well, like I'm sitting in my office right now. I have a little sign on the door that says filming, like please nobody knock. Um, but I also like it's like so quiet you could hear a pin drop right now. And I do love that because I am a little crazy, like because like I go from I am like him. I go from one phone call to a different phone to somebody's chatting to like I jump from thing to thing, and it is not easy. It's probably not easy to work around me now.
So basically, so like then when you got to that point where he's like kind of just said, "Hey, you know what? You need to do your thing. You bring in new clients and do your work." So at that point, then was it kind of separate? Like he had his deal and you had yours?
Yeah, we co-branded. We always were beach equities. We always were like we're probate experts. We always were kind of telling the same story and the same branding message, but we ran our deals separately. So, which made us both a little bit happier.
Oh, good, good. So what did you do? Because that's scary, right? I mean, I know that you were a realtor for a little bit, but that's scary that your dad said, "Okay." jump in the water. I ain't saving you. Go.
Yeah.
What did you do to stay afloat, especially in '09 when things were still a little shaky?
Yeah, they were. I always say, like, realtors are made in the difficult markets, right? Because um yeah, you have to hustle. I don't even know what to tell you about what I did. I just kept showing up. I just kept showing up and I was networking and I would go to different meetings. I was really involved. Like at the same time I was doing kickball, I was networking with kickball. In fact, I just had a call from another kickballer like 2 days ago who called me and he was like, "Hey, this realtor's telling me XYZ." He's like, "I know you from those days." He's like, "I know you'll tell me the real deal. Like, I know you'll shoot it straight." He's like, "What do you think?" And like, so another kickballer just recently called me. So like I was networking and those relationships like continue to evolve. Same thing with like the junior chamber. I was involved in the junior chamber and then like that evolved into different charitable organizations in Long Beach. Like I was involved when the Red Shoe Society just got started with the Ronald McDonald House and I go to the Trust Council and I have different organizations across Long Beach that I've been a part of. It's funny, like those they tend to circle back around. Like someone just threw a name out to me recently, and I was like, wow, I think I worked with that person on an event called Shop with a Cop that was through the chamber where we worked with the Long Beach Police Foundation and the Long Beach PD Explorers to put an event together for through the Boys and Girls Club. Kids would come and they had like a gift card to shop at one of the local Targets. And those were events that I did during like so I was really heavily involved in networking and being getting myself entrenched in Long Beach in a new way as an adult, right? Because I'd grown up here. So I was like, I need a different network. I need a professional network. I need certainly still my friends and people to hang out with, but I need a new network. And I built that at that time. And I think that I mean, it was certainly social and fun and things that I'm interested in anyway, but it translated into business. And I would do that all over again. There's probably not anything that I did that I wouldn't do over again because it all played a role. It was all really valuable. Some of those people turned into clients. Some of those people turned into referral partners. Some of those people, like I've followed their professional careers and been able to help them or mentor them professionally. All of that came into play, but it was really built out of needing to have local friends again and then needing to build a business that was built on relationships. And I kind of tied it all together but that is a natural strength of mine. Like I mean, I'm extroverted. Yeah. I like to talk to people.
Yeah.
So that is like a strength of mine. And I just tried to leverage everything I could possibly do because yes, the market was awful at that time, but being a newer agent and sort of like, even though I was from Long Beach, it was like being new again because I had just moved back as an adult. I only really had a few years under me at that point. So, yeah.
So you're working the real estate more of like a traditional way.
Yeah.
Obviously, your dad probably did some traditional stuff, but I would imagine he was doing probate before you even got into the game.
He had longtime clients at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
he certainly has always like my work ethic came from him, but I did not see him having to find new clients. I mean, he's always trying to find new clients, but I didn't see him having to really look for new clients. Like he definitely had an existing client base.
Yeah.
Which, like now I'm getting to that point where I have an existing client base, but you're still always looking for new business. Like that's the nature of this business. So anyway.
But you're diving into a lot of probate deals, right? And where you're dealing with a lot of attorneys and you're getting a lot of your business from your relationship with attorneys. When did that start changing? Because when I first was hanging out with you and then knew you in a professional realm, I knew you were doing that a little bit, but towards the end of me in the business, you were in the pool with the probate, and that was most of your business was coming from the probate side. So when did that shift happen for you? Or maybe I'm wrong. That's just me from the outside looking in.
I think it was always happening. I think
Okay.
that might be an outside looking in perspective. Because I think the circles that we know each other in are those circles where, yeah, if I can help someone buy their regular home, right, their primary residence that has nothing to do with probate, then yes, I'm still going to do that deal, right? I can still help people do regular deals, but I think I was always working on this niche
Mm,
because partly because of my dad and partly because of the networking. Once I added things like the trust council and the bar association, and it just became a natural extension. And then I had an expertise that like in the contracts and things that I could see that other agents didn't have. And so I did just follow that path. I definitely had, I mean, obviously one of the other ways we like the circles that overlap is the Tom Ferry coaching world.
mhm.
And I definitely had like a career crisis around 2011, 2012, which like the market was hard then. And I was like struggling and I was like, do I want to do this? It's really hard. I don't know. Um, and I went to a real estate industry event, Tom Ferry
Tom
Success
Ferry, yeah.
Event. And I didn't sign up for coaching that first year, but that event gave me just enough to get me through one more calendar year.
Hmm.
And then I was able to be like, okay, I can build a full business around this. So I would say if there was a pivot or a change, it would be around the 2011, 2012 mark, where it wasn't so much that I turned and was full on into probate. It's that I turned and was full on I was committed to real estate
Got it.
overall.
Got it. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. So let's talk about probate a little bit because like a lot of people are probably heard the word probate, but have no idea what the heck we're talking about here. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we hope that you don't have to go through it.
That's the truth.
We hope you don't have to go through it, but if you do, then I can help you. No, so probate is in California. If you pass away without a trust in place, then your family will likely go through probate.
So
Um,
even if they have a will, right?
the will help determine like what you want done, and this is the part where I reiterate that I'm not an attorney. I just play one on TV. But I they are my clients now, so I know just enough to get people into trouble. But to speak to that, basically, if the threshold in California, it was recently raised, but the threshold is if your assets are above $183,000. So in California, if you own anything, like if you own a mobile home, it's likely worth more than 183. Although there is there's a new law coming into effect in April that might raise that threshold to like 800,000 or 750 or something. So that's like a new thing coming. But traditionally, up until this point, it's always been 183.5, I think, where if the assets are above that. So then you get kicked into probate court if there's no trust. So a will tell the court like your wishes, but somebody will still have to carry them out through probate court.
Mm, okay. And so if you have a trust, it kind of it's a little bit higher level of protection for.
Significantly, and anyone watching should reach out to one of us to get referred to a trust attorney because they don't want their family. So it's also like it's not just time and hassle and money. The going through probate court, it takes 1 to 2 years to close a probate, including additional tax returns for the estate. It's a pretty tedious process. I don't recommend it. Probate attorneys don't recommend it. They're like, I'm so sorry you have to deal with me. Um, and we do work with the top ones in the city of Long Beach and Southern California. And ultimately, having a trust will protect your money, your family, and your assets.
Yeah, I echo that just because of my background. I just want to transition a little bit to Long Beach real estate. for a little bit. I went to the broker preview meeting recently, and Bob from Remax, you know who he is.
Yeah.
He cuts up and he talks about the market, and my stomach got tight when he was going over the I own my own home, thank goodness. I wouldn't be able to buy my home now, becoming like
A
for
lot
many
of
reasons,
people
but
say that.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, but he was talking, because of the interest rates rising and because of the low inventory, interest rates are rising and values are still rising. And he was talking about how much a family needed to make to own a single family residence in Long Beach. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, are you kidding me right now?
Yes. So he's not wrong. So you're referring to Bob Stallings, who's a
Yeah.
Remax broker, very well respected Long Beach business owner, Remax franchise. And he and my dad have known each other for many years. And yes, it's astronomical. So I thought you might ask me these questions. So this I prepared for.
Okay.
And I have some stats for you if
Yeah,
you're
go
up.
for it. Let's do it.
So the median sales price in Long Beach, median is
Hmm.
938,500, which is up 6.6 year over year. New listings are down almost 20%, 17.9% fewer homes hitting the market. So that's a supply problem.
Hmm.
Closed sales are up 3.4%. So demand is steady. And then days, so this is where it's like it doesn't make sense actually at this point. So days on market are up. You would think with those numbers that days on market would be down, that things would be selling really fast, but days on market are up 38.5%. The average is 36 days. So that's how long it's taking for a home to sell. And inventory is up 4.2%. So that gives a little bit of more choice for buyers. There's more homes, but they're sitting longer. Some of it doesn't totally make sense. And those are single family numbers. So basically, like if inventory is rising, then you have more options, right? But it's still so unaffordable that like your buyer pool becomes smaller, but the small buyer pool is still really, really motivated to buy a house. I see your brain like working on that. I was like digging through the numbers and I was like, the numbers don't make sense. But those are the numbers. So, and then I had one more stat, which is like the whole US housing market. Existing home sales climbed the third straight month, hitting a 10-month high. Um, nationally, home sales rose 9.3% year over year, with demand strongest above a price point of 500,000. So that's a national number, but the Long Beach number, it's almost $1 million for a home, and most people are locked if they refinanced in 2020 or 2021. They're locked into like a 2.7%. I mean, this is your forte, right?
Yeah.
Locked into a really low interest rate. So they don't want to move because their payment is so low. Their payment now would be like $10,000 for anything average.
Yeah.
And then who can pay $10,000 a month in a mortgage and taxes and insurance? The real big deal with homes right now, which I know you know, and this is Long Beach specific, but it's market specific, is your home is not selling if it doesn't have a good roof on it. So you need a good roof because insurance companies won't insure you otherwise. Insurance carriers are, I mean, that's like another podcast, but it's insane. It's totally insane.
I have a theory, and you would know this theory better than I would, but it's just a theory that I have. When you have a listing, just not a probate listing, just a normal traditional listing, and the people know that like there's low inventory, so there's like in lack of a better way to say it, there's an arrogance to a lot of the sellers. And so I feel like the reason why, and this is my theory, why homes are staying on the market is because somebody will offer a deal, and they're like, "Are you
Yeah.
kidding me right now? $1.2 million.
Yeah.
My grandpa put a kitchen in here. This thing's meant 1.5. What are
Yeah.
you doing here? That's not gonna work for me."
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong,
Uh-huh.
but I think what's happening is like they'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
So they can pull that off because if they wait 30 days, they'll get the number they want.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, like here's what I'll say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did just buy a house last fall or summer,
Yeah.
basically, which it's hard to be your own client, right? Like it did make me sick to my stomach a lot. A lot. And moving's hard, and realtors should be required to move like every 5 years so that they don't forget how awful it is. Um, yeah, but I think the thing for buyers and sellers to know right now is that there are deals in the marketplace because the market's volatile, because interest rates are dipping down, but then going back up, right? If you are prepared, if you're ready to like strike, if you're ready to throw your house on the market, or you're ready like with a prequal to buy a house, then there are deals on both sides to be had. And nobody likes when people say it's a buyer's market and a seller's market. Nobody likes anybody to say that, but it kind of is. In my opinion, it kind of is, because I can put your house on the market right now and still get multiple offers for it and drive that price up because I can position and package, and I know how to position the house in the marketplace. But if there's an agent who doesn't know how to do that, and there's plenty that are throwing homes on the market because people are kind of scared right now, which I get, because no one knows what's happening with interest rates or inflation. Like there's just a lot of variables,
Yeah.
right? When there's a lot of variables, people get scared. When people get scared, they don't take action. So if you can stomach the fear and still take action, you will win. And that's kind of, I feel like, how we bought our house last summer. And I think that's how I'm helping my clients right now get offers accepted. And also, while I'm still helping clients drive prices, it's positioning and packaging and relationships. It's really knowing your local marketplace, all of this. Sorry, I could talk about real estate
No,
forever.
I know you can. But I do have a question about like not the the people that have like the good news about people who own a home right now. There's a lot of equity, and they
Yeah,
can use that equity if they wanted to buy another
buy
home.
the
That would
next
help
one. Yeah,
with that. But you talk about these younger adults, in their 20s and 30s who haven't bought a
yeah,
home yet.
yeah.
Um, uh, and my thinking on that would be is like, hey, look, let's not swing for the fences right now. Um, maybe we go away from I hate to say it, but maybe we go away from the coast a little bit and build up some equity, because even anything in Southern California, Spear has been going up. Or go with the condo or something smaller, and then building the equity. What is your thoughts on something like that?
I think you do anything you can do to get in the market, right? Because it's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right? Which
Mhm,
is a cheesy thing, but like it's true.
mhm,
Um, and I think there's also opportunity in condos and townhouses right now.
mhm,
I did not give you those stats, but they're a little more favorable to a buyer.
mhm.
And that type of a property is a little more palatable, usually, to people who are younger and older, right? Because of less maintenance
Yeah.
and a variety of reasons. And in Long Beach, there are so many opportunities right now for condos and townhomes that are more affordable as long as you keep the monthly HOA as low as possible. So maybe that means you have to deal with a shitty parking situation,
Mhm,
or you don't have laundry inside your unit. There's a couple things you might have to tolerate that you don't love, but maybe you can change it over time, like
mhm,
depending on the rules of the building and things like that. So I think there's definitely ways around it. And yes, geographically changing, right? Maybe you go further east, but I still think there's opportunity in Long Beach as long as you're willing to like tolerate some things that maybe weren't on your list, you know?
Yeah.
Um, because over time, real estate always wins over
Yeah.
time.
Well, I want you to put your crystal ball on. Your, and I want you to tell me what your thoughts are on,
Ah, shit.
let's say 2026, 2027, the real estate market in Long Beach.
Okay. First, let me say I don't have a crystal ball, but I will give you my personal opinion, which is that I think interest rates will improve slightly, a little bit. Um, which I think will loosen things up in the marketplace and allow more movement, and more movement will allow prices to improve a little bit. But all the economic predictors are that prices will appreciate 5% over the next 5 years. So that might be that might be like a timing the market kind of thing, like buying when there's a dip. But that's going to be hard to time. So I still tell my clients to buy when it's right for your life. You can't time the market. I mean, you can try, but you cannot.
Yeah.
Um, and then in terms of Long Beach in particular, I think you can't look at the Long Beach market over the next couple of years without looking at the impact of the fires and looking at the impact of the Olympics, because the Olympics are going to be held in Long Beach. Like there are events that are going to be held here. That's going to impact the real estate market. And traffic and a whole bunch of other things. And then the fire displacement is absolute. Like we are the southernmost city in LA County. We haven't really gotten into that. That's a larger conversation also.
Yeah.
But the fire is definitely going to impact our market. I think at a high level, surface level, that's going to drive prices up on places like the peninsula, Naples, anyone who can buy like a second beach home, right? And they're like, okay, I'll go live there for like a year while my other house is being rebuilt. That might drive pricing higher on other, it's certainly driving rents right now. But I think somebody who can afford to buy like a second beach home is going to do that. Are they going to do it in Long Beach or are they going to do it in Orange County? That might be the other question mark. But those are the things, those are at least the influences to look for of what's going to be impacting Long Beach in the next few years, as well as development. Like there's, huge music venues being developed, and that's going to affect downtown. And, there's a bunch of investment happening in Long Beach too. So those things will impact the market, but those are the big influencers off at a high level.
Yeah. What's next for Paige?
I've been asking that question a lot lately of myself. I don't know. I feel like I achieved a lot last year. We achieved our highest sales price ever, just under 8 million on the Newport Peninsula, which was like a huge career milestone.
Wow.
We moved our office of 40 years after, like, back to the neighborhood the year before that. And then we just personally moved. So there's been a lot of growth in the last 2 to 3 years. So we have a 14-year-old senior doggy, Teddy. He's a Maltipoo. And we're just trying to spend as much time as possible with him, which is helpful, having my whole radius of life be within a few blocks of each other. I'm speaking more and working on writing more about probate and aging, and like how people can take steps to, not bulletproof their life, but to make things better for adult kids, for the parents who are aging, downsize, all of those things. Like I'm doing a lot more speaking about those things. I think just stabilization right now.
I love it. I love it. Before I get into my last question, a fun question. If people want to get in touch with you or talk probate or talk real estate with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So I live on social media and they can find me in all the channels, but I would say the majority of my time is on Instagram at paige.charnick, but all of my information is at my website, pagecharnick.com, which will also take you to our brokerage site as well for property information. But for that specific probate, aging, that kind of stuff, it's all at pagecharnick.com.
Okay, great. Now for my fun question. Where are your favorite places to eat around town?
Oh, my favorite. I have so many favorites. This is like the worst question because it's like you want to name them all, right?
Yeah.
I will say my diehard like number one Long Beach restaurant is Hoff's Hut. Um,
Which one?
the one on Bellflower.
Okay.
I'm very particular. That one in particular. I just like grew up going there and love it so much. So Hoff's Hut is like high on my list. It's not the, it's like your classic diner. It's not the foodiest place, but other honorable mentions that I will throw out. So we just moved from Bixby back to East Long Beach. So in Bixby, huge fans of the Merchant and Thunderbolt Pizza. So as you know, my husband Jason is from the Bronx and very snobby about pizza, and Thunderbolt, while he will not say it's New York quality, like he likes it.
It's
so
tolerable.
yeah, I mean that's a big deal. Like he doesn't give pizza stamps of approval to many places. So we like Thunderbolt
like
a lot.
we do for Mexican food. I bet you our Mexican food would be the Bronx.
I mean, yes, it would. And I would say Ponchos on PCH. I'm very partial to. And then I also spend a lot of time going to Ubuntu and the 908, which like I know I can come up with a lot of Long Beach restaurants.
Ubuntu, that's the kind of coffee shop there, right by the Colorado Lagoon.
Yeah, it's off of Appian and Granada, maybe. Yeah, it's right by the lagoon, and it's kind of like open air. Food's really
good. I think it might be Nieto.
Yeah, you might be right about that. So I like it there, and then I also like the 908. I don't know. I have like so many. Those are, I feel like, I don't want to say generic, but like I feel like everyone knows about those. Probably the only hole in the wall place would be Ponchos that people don't necessarily know about.
Bring cash because they do not take credit cards.
They do not, and they're closed on Mondays.
Yeah.
Yes.
You crave a lot of Mexican food on Mondays?
I mean, apparently yes, because I know. Apparently yes, I know that. Yes, they're a cash business. I mean, there's so many, like La Perla Chia. There's so many. This is the worst question. The worst, best question. So cool. I don't know if any of those have made your list previously.
They're on my list for sure. I mean, every one of you name. Well, no, I would say not. You named something in Bixby that I've never been to. I've been to Thunderbolt, but there was another one.
The Merchant.
I've never been to the Merchant. No.
So good. It's coffee shop really, but like their pastries are to die for. Like they're really good. I really like, this is not Long Beach technically, but I really like Spaghettini also.
Spaghettini, well, because the Rossmore area, Rossmore Still Beach area.
Yeah, I do a lot of client lunches there. And then also like the Boathouse, right? Like the Boathouse is a classic. I feel like I'm naming all the ones people like already know about, but they are so many. I mean,
that's okay. They're staples for a reason. They're still in business for a reason. A lot of the ones you named have been in business for many, many years, and there's a reason for it.
Exactly.
Oh, but before we go, is there anything else you want to leave our audience with?
I just feel like we talked a lot about my journey, but I just love Long Beach so much. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much more to Long Beach that I like want to tell people. Maybe we can do a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do another podcast about Long Beach itself.
I'm like, there's so many Long Beach things. I'm like, I want to tell people that it's Wanapiro and not Junipero, and it's Eximino and not Shamino. And we have
now you're getting controversial.
I've got like a few. I'm like, here's what you need to know about Long Beach. Anyway, yeah. So
Paige, it's just been a wonderful time getting to talk with you. And it's kind of fun because in this setting, I say this a lot all the time is, yeah, we know each other. We've known each other for many years, but doing this form of podcasting, I learned some things that I would not have probably learned from you if we didn't do this. So
yes,
that in itself is a great win.
I love it. But let's also catch up soon for real.
Let's do it. Yeah, you're walking. Your office is walking distance from my house, literally.
Yes,
So
lunch right over at the cafe.
let's do. Yeah, we saw each other there. Matter of fact,
Yes, yes.
right on. Paige, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a Long Beach thing.